Joe Biden says that the economy is doing really well, that gas prices are down and inflation is down. Would you agree with that?
Come on, Joe. You know better, Joe. You know that's not true, Joe.
Gas prices down. Ain't no gas. What you mean gas prices down? It's almost $5 for a gallon of gas. That's why I don't own a car. I'm not paying no $5 for no gas.
He's a Democrat. He said what he had to say. But no, do I agree? Absolutely not. I mean, he's not really doing anything. The gas prices are down because you guys control the prices of gas. You can make them go down. You can make them go up. But no, not at all.
He says the economy is doing really well. Do you agree that it's doing well?
Nope.
How can it? Come on. You guys go to the store and buy gas. You know. No, that's not true, Joe. I like you. You're my guy. But no, it's not true.
Joining me now, Evita Duffy-Alfonso, great writer for The Federalist, also co-founder of the Chicago Thinker. Okay, Evita, let's talk about the last guy for a minute, because I see a lot of that in this country, from both sides, to be honest with you. I don't like this is a lie. I don't like this is a lie. You still support him? Oh yeah, he's my guy. Now, maybe I'm just cold, maybe I'm disloyal, I don't know, but I could never imagine doing that. What's with these people?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's so perplexing for many of us because this video that I put together is actually from Chicago and in some of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago. So these people, more than probably most Americans, are really struggling through this economy, really struggling through Democrat crime, and yet they are still supporting Democrats. And I spoke to a police officer on the south side of Chicago. He's, anonymously, he's not allowed to say what his name is or anything like that because it's very strict. But he said, a lot of the people in the city, they continue to vote Democrat because it's very generational. Communities that are, have been Black for a very long time. Their grandparents, their great grandparents, they've all been, voting Democrat since the 1930s. Continue to vote Democrat, and they have the party really has a hold on them. And when I was there, it really made me think, what would happen if Republicans actually tried to reach out to people like this, went into these really terrible neighborhoods and said, hey, there's a better option for you guys. Stop voting for the same people over and over again, and you might see different results. But the problem is that Republicans, I don't think, are reaching out to Blacks or Hispanics for that matter as well, who are even more optimistic demographic for Republicans. And it's very disappointing.
Yeah, maybe we could make more inroads with the Black community if we actually reached out and met these people instead of just passing bills where people get sprung from prison and then acting like that's Black outreach, which is actually kind of insulting when you think about it. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about this. Speaking of these neighborhoods, tamales. Now, being from Texas, we have superior tamales down here. No offense, of course, Evita, but I understand you did a little doc about tamale vendors in Chicago?
So I went to Little Village, which is the Mexican-American neighborhood in Chicago. It's majority Mexican, but there's also some Puerto Ricans there as well. And many of them are illegal, so some of them, they can't get regular jobs. They don't have social security numbers. So they are, a huge part of the economy in that neighborhood is street vending. And so they're selling tamales, they're selling churros. And because these people are operating on a cash only basis, because they're out on the streets, oftentimes in the really early morning at like 3 a.m., they're beginning their selling. They've become terrible targets of gangs in some of the worst Chicago neighborhoods. So they'll come in with machine guns, terrifying these poor people, pointing guns at their heads, saying, give me all your money, give me all your personal items, and robbed. And it's been really interesting because these are supposedly Lori Lightfoot and Kim Foxx's constituency, and yet they've said this mayor and this DA and this governor are not doing a good job for us. We feel extremely unsafe. We don't feel like they care about us. The only comment that Lori Lightfoot's given on these repeated violent robberies is that these people should go cashless. And the vendors that I talked to said that is not an option at all. We operate on a cash only basis. Our customers are cash only. It really is a testament to how little she cares about them and the struggles that they're going through by having a ridiculous solution that does nothing to address the real problem, which is crime.
You actually got out on the street and asked people about Lori Lightfoot and crime. I like this. Here's some of it.
It's been a lot going on in this area, especially since Lori Lightfoot has been in here. So it's like, it's not safer. She didn't do nothing.
You know, we got people being shot in their vehicles. You still got people stealing cars and robbing people.
Me living in this community is not safe. I have to walk down the street with a knife just to go home.
Under anybody's leadership, is the city going to get safer? No, not at all. I mean, you can't control crime. Crime has been popularized through music, and especially in certain areas. I mean, she's not going to do a big change of justice. No, not at all.
Evita, they're going to reelect Lori Lightfoot, aren't they?
So it's an interesting question. The people that I spoke with, I mean, to me, it seems like no, that either people aren't going to vote or they're definitely not going to vote for her. The problem with Chicago is that it's extremely corrupt. I mean, before anybody was ever talking about voting irregularities or problems, Chicago had that for decades. So I worry that this tradition of a lot of cheating, a lot of corruption is going to continue during this next election. But if the people actually had their way in the city of Chicago, I don't believe Lori Lightfoot would win. But I think, unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
Okay, so I hate to even ask this question because I actually I love the country too, but I love cities. I have so much fun every time I go to Chicago and New York City and these other places. I have a blast in the cities. But Chicago is not going to turn around, is it?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I grew up in a rural area, and the first time I was in Chicago was when I got an acceptance letter from the University of Chicago. I'd never been there. I went there for the first time. I fell in love with the city. I definitely prefer urban environments to rural ones. There's life is at your fingertips. The problem is it's not at your fingertips when you're too afraid to walk down the street. And over the last few years, especially since Lori Lightfoot was elected in 2019, things have gotten increasingly worse. And I think the only way that things are going to turn around is when they hit rock bottom. I mean, there is an exodus of Chicago and of New York and LA as well. People don't want to stay there anymore. Business owners say, I'm not going to have my employees get mugged on their way to work. We're moving. We're out. And I think once Chicago really sees the economic hit of people fleeing the city, then maybe they'll turn things around. Perhaps even the Democrat elected leaders might change their ways, but we haven't hit rock bottom yet because they're still pursuing these horrible equity, policies that are destroying the country and destroying that city.
Evita, appreciate you. Come back soon.
Thank you.